Greetings Deadites, and I hope your boomsticks are fully loaded wherever you are in collecting land. And welcome back to the channel for another sort of unboxing and review. And today it's the turn of Trick or Treat Studios' prop replica of the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, aka the Book of the Dead, from Sam Raimi's 1987 groundbreaking horror sequel Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn. But in time-honoured tradition, before we dive in, I'd like to send a huge shout out to everyone who supported Go Figure, and please drop a like on this video as it helps other people find the channel, and if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon so you don't miss any of the action figure and collectible goodness that we've got coming up. So, Evil Dead 2, what can I say that hasn't already been said? Still my favourite Evil Dead movie of all time. The first one is great, but a little bit too mashed potato. The third one is great as well, but leans a little too much into comedy and a little bit too much away from the horror, in my opinion. But Dead by Dawn is absolutely pitch perfect as far as I'm concerned. Slightly different format for this video, folks. I've had the Topps Necronomicon for some time, and I've spent a lot of time modifying it, so less of a review, more of a modding video, but we will still take a look at the box as we always do. Let's stop it from spinning and have a quick look. And what you've got is this relatively simple packaging here from Topps. You've got this clear plastic window on the front with the Necronomicon underneath it. Top left hand corner says Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. Says Necronomicon Ex-Mortis replica prop at the bottom there, Trick or Treat Studios. Around the sides, and if the light's catching this, you've got some skulls and some strange designs and writing going on in shaded lettering on the sides there. It says Trick or Treat Studios. That design, that subtle design is repeated around this side. On the top, more of that same design and writing. On the bottom, you've got the usual credits and warnings. Don't piss this book off, or it may well swallow your soul. Around the back, we have a picture of the book itself, and herein lies some of the issues. All a little bit too clean and tidy for me, that book there. But yeah, across the top it says Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, Necronomicon again, and down here you've got the words spoken by Professor Raymond Noby as he describes the background to the Book of the Dead on the tape in the movie itself. So yeah, that's the box. So without further ado, let's get the Necronomicon out and let's have a close-up look at it. Okay folks, so here it is. It's the Necronomicon itself onto the stand and turntable, and can't give first impressions on this, obviously, but possibly, and without sounding too harsh, the best thing about the original straight out of the box is what we're looking at right now, which is the cover. But we'll stop it from spinning and have a close-up look. The cover itself, I think, is pretty good. It's made out of this latex material. The design is pretty much on point, and it's got some depth to it, and it's got a tactile feel to it. The colours are nice and screen accurate, but pretty much the latex and the design on the front and the back were about the best thing. As I said to this piece when it came straight out of the box, it was a bit of a disappointment. The main issues really with this, first of all, was the actual book itself underneath the latex, and it feels like what Topps have done here is used a relatively cheap A4 file. That's what it feels like a cheap file from the stationer's office. And when it comes straight out of the box, it's very much, and I'm going to just demonstrate this, it's like that. It's in that sort of V shape that you get with ring binders. And that is down to a couple of things. It's down to the weathering of the pages themselves and the amount of pages, but we'll get to the pages in a second. Yeah, overall, I think the front cover, as I say, best thing about this straight out of the box, and we've got to mention at this point as well, it's done at a price point because there are a lot of really expensive custom Necronomicons out there, and you can spend an absolute shed load of money if you're wanting to go for sort of accuracy and authenticity. So the price point here is very good, but as I said, that was reflected in on the inside of this book. So let's take a look inside. Now, as I mentioned before when we were looking at the box there, the first thing that struck me when I opened this book was the cleanness of the pages. Now, that isn't an issue anymore because I have gone to town with the weathering on this. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to put some stills down at the bottom here, so you've got something to compare it to. But yeah, straight out of the box, these pages were super clean. For example, the inside cover here was completely clean. There was no weathering at all on this. I mean, the paper that they've used, well, it's more of a card than a paper, was of a decent stock. It felt nice. It had a decent quality to it and a decent weight to it. And it had a slightly off-white colour, which you'll see, as I say, in those stills down below. But overall, it was just super, super clean, super tidy. The edges here weren't weathered anywhere near as much as you see here. There was an attempt at weathering. They weren't perfectly straight like a brand new book, but there was nowhere near as much as you're seeing here, and that was one of the first jobs that I had to do. But yeah, the materials that I used here we'll go through, but overall, I mean, I'm not 100% sure how many pages there actually are in this version, but once it's been weathered and had a little bit of attention, the whole thing actually flexes a lot more within the spine there and gives you that much more. It feels, although it's still spongy, because of the gaps in between the pages, it feels more substantial once the weathering's been done. And as I say, you'll see those pictures below, which will highlight what I mean. What materials did I use and how did I do it? Well, the first thing I did with this piece was to weather the edges of the pages themselves. And that's really simple. You just get a bit brutal with them. Just give them a nip and a tuck and a little tiny rip here and there, and you know, have some dangly bits coming off. That's what I wanted. I wanted this thing to look like it had come out of the ground, because it's meant to be buried for hundreds of years and then rediscovered. And as I say, original, way too clean for me. But use a number of different materials here, and we'll flip through some of the pages. In fact, we'll flip through all of it, but we'll start with this inside cover. Now, as I said, this was completely clean, so throughout the entire book itself, what I used was, well, there's a number of materials. I used, first and foremost, it was acrylic paints, washed out acrylic paints, different dilutions and different paint application styles. I wanted to go for a sort of a mouldy, dirty effect, and I wanted to blend in the edges here on this front cover in particular, because I wanted sort of what looked like black mould in the corners, black-green mould growing on this thing. So using some foam pads, I actually stippled and blended into the centre the colours here, but the whole thing's been repainted here. Left some of the original paper colour showing through just in some small areas, just to give it some highlights. But on the whole, it's pretty much been painted throughout the whole book itself. So yeah, stippled in and shaded in from the corners there to give it that mouldy black old look. And that's been done pretty much with all the pages, darkening them at the corners also to give it that burnt look as well, because you know, obviously it does get burnt in the film. But yeah, and variations on a theme really here. Now there is a bit of a shine to these pages, and there's a reason for that, but it was essential. But as you can see here, compared to the original, I think this is far more effective, and I think it just displays a whole lot better. And what I did, as I mentioned there, was actually go with a varnish over the top of the pages themselves. It's a wood varnish, a light coat of wood varnish. And once I'd done that, then it was a case of just getting my hands in there, and that it was doing a page at a time. So it's a lengthy process if you're thinking of undertaking it, because you literally have to do one page and then let that dry before you move on to the next. And the different, dependent on how heavy you want to go with the paints and the layers that you want to use, it can take some time. So prepare to set a fair bit of time to one side for this. But just to actually look at the illustrations now, there's not an awful lot of writing in here. They're limited on the illustrations that they've used here. Some, I believe, are lifted directly from the Necronomicon in the film itself. Others, I think they've used a certain amount of artistic license with. I'm pretty certain there is at some point in here there's what looks like a picture of Ash himself in deadite form. But yeah, once you've painted this thing to your liking, and what I also did was I tried to leave a a lighter section right in the spine there, where the pages meet, because that will be the area that saw the least weather. But yeah, that's what I was referring to there. Yeah, I think you've got that is most certainly meant to be Ash is a Deadite. So yeah, you're limited in the amount of pages, and the illustrations are good. I mean, I'm not going to knock it for those. They are pretty well done, and I like the writing that they've used here. These sort of Kandarian writing that they've gone for here. And overall, I think illustrations are pretty good. However, they're limited, and as you can probably see here, once everything is all the layers are dried and you've got that look that you want to, then I screwed the pages up, and literally, and you can do this if it starts to flatten out. Don't have to be too cautious with it. I mean, you literally get your hand in there and do this and just screw up a page. Now that varnish will protect it from ripping, and once that page has been screwed up to you, is suitably creased to where you want it to be, then it'll hold its shape for quite some time. And also, as I said before, it will actually pad the book out itself. But yeah, illustrations pretty good, although not brilliant. Would have liked to have seen more pages. Would have liked to have seen more writing on those pages, and perhaps smaller. It's almost like the Ladybird book of the evil, the Ladybird book of the dead, rather than a replica of the actual Necronomicon itself. But if you do plan to get this piece, and you do plan to undertake what I've done here, I think that the trick is not to be too concerned, is literally just get in there and get messy with it, because you can't really go that wrong, to be honest with you, because if it does get messy, and if you do mess something up, it doesn't really matter that much, because it will probably look convincing anyway. Went a little too heavy on these last two pages with the varnish, still trying to sort that out. Keep having to come back to these and crease them, but yeah, as I say, it's not a vastly expensive piece, this one, so if you do get it wrong in areas, it's not, there's no great shakes, and you can do it to the level that you want it. These back covers are probably, I think, are the ones that need the heaviest of weathering, because, as I said, you've got that join line, that quite obvious join line where the latex has been folded over onto the card of the back of the book itself, and they were really ugly. They made it look very, very cheap indeed, and so I've tried to blend those in as much as possible. So yeah, there you have it, folks. That is the customized version, my customized version of Todd's take on the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis. Put my teeth back in. So what are your thoughts on this piece? Do you have this piece? Have you undertaken any kind of modifications yourself? Have you got a custom piece? What are your thoughts on the movie? What are your thoughts on Sam Raimi? What are your thoughts on the recent Evil Dead movies? Drop a comment in the comment section below. Nothing is off menu. I'm going to pop that back on the turntable and go in for final thoughts. Right. Final thoughts on this. I can't give this a score out of 10 now with the work that I've done on it, because that will just be me patting myself on the back. So let's throw that out the window to start with. However, what I can do is score the original book as it came directly from Trick or Treat Studios, and unfortunately I was very disappointed when I got this out of the box. I appreciated that the price point was good, but I did expect something a little bit better than this. And had I been scoring it without the customization that I've done to it, I would have probably given it a 5, maybe a 6, and most of that would have gone on the latex cover that they've made. So yeah, as it stands now, I am a lot happier with it, and much happier about how it displays. So there you have it, folks. That's Trick or Treat Studios and Necronomicon Ex-Mortis. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. A little bit of fun. What's coming up on the channel? Well, in the 6-scale world, we have a raft of new action figures coming in from Hot Toys, from Present Toys, InArt, Susu Toys, from Caustic Plastic. The list goes on. And we've got retro reviews, we've got other movie memorabilia, we've got collectibles, we've got all kinds of stuff. more episodes of Grail or Fail, more episodes of Don't Make Me Choose. So, as I mentioned at the top there, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon so you're not missing any of the good stuff that's coming up. And I suppose all that remains for me to say is a massive thank you for watching. We're going to have an alternate showcase. We're gonna go out with a bedtime story. But from me, from the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, take care of yourselves, happy collecting, and time for the bedtime story.